tell us a bit about this cat.
Well, this cat is a snow sculpture. It took about 12 hours to carve, and it's carved of about 3,000 pounds of compressed snow. Start with
3,000 pounds?
Yeah, it starts with a big plywood form that we stuff full of snow and then stomp down to compress the air out. And it forms, when we go around the back, it forms kind of a really heavy, dense snow it's the consistency of like a really heavy styrofoam that you get that comes with packing when you get a package.
And now, where do you get 3,000 pounds of snow?
It's all, at the time, this was before our last snowfall, so it was from the storm right before New Year's. And so all the snow was from that side of the driveway all the way over and around that side of the house to fill the form. And then my neighbor has a front end loader on his tractor, and he brought over a couple extra buckets of snow over too. So it's a community project. I can't do it by myself.
And no, this is an 8-foot tall snow cat, but this isn't your first massive snow sculpture.
No, I've been sculpting this is now the end of my second decade of sculpting. And
no
so
kidding.
I carve all over the world at different events and winter festivals and demonstrations, and just to get kind of to spread I call it the gospel of the winter art, but to spread a little bit of joy during time of year that most people kind of huddle up around their fireplaces, and just try to kind of re-energize folks.
And how did you get into this?
I was living in Alaska, and there aren't a lot of things to do in the winter. And they have a big 2-week-long kind of winter Mardi Gras, and one of the events was snow sculpting, and I started there and haven't looked back since. It's a wonderful little community of those crazy people who like to have fun in the cold.
Now, I'm going to take a closer look and show folks the sculpture. And can you tell us how you go about sculpting?
Well, every sculpture is different. And so this one, I had a plan of what I wanted to do, and I drew it out. I usually draw it out a few times on paper. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll do small clay models, but this one, you'll see, is there's kind of a linear aspect to it. It's kind of front to back, as everything's done on a plane, partly because I knew it was going to be really cold. Yeah. I didn't want to have to deal with doing kind of 360 degrees worth of carving. And so I take the image from the paper and I essentially transfer it onto the front of the block. And then I just, part of it is how you're wired. I think much more clearly in 3 dimensions. Like, I look at the block and I say, remove everything that's not a cat. And a lot of artists will look and say, I would never know what to do with a sculpture and how to do that. I have trouble when I'm working in 2 dimensions. So this, I can't describe the carving process other than it's detractive. You're taking snow away.
Okay.
And so it's largely the tools you can do. You can do things in a rounded fashion. You can have nice, bold planes. And to me, it's all about adding enough texture and detail so that when the light is shining on it, it pops. You can see the shadows. And this one doesn't have a lot of structural risk to it. Everything's pretty solid from the top down. So there's not a lot of air pockets aside from where the eyes are. And
so do you use tools to sculpt? I'm assuming you do. What kind of tools do you use to make a sculpture like this?
It's a good question. There are no standard snow sculpting tools where you can't go to the store and buy them. So it's usually an assemblage of things that you pick up at yard sales and at flea markets and that your friends find for you.
Okay.
But think about what you would use for wood carving. You have little chisels that you use, and it's the same thing here. You just, instead of a chisel, I'll use a tile scraper that's meant for pulling up a kitchen floor. Or I'll use, instead of sandpaper, we'll use curry combs for horses that have those little notches in them to pull the hair off, and we use that to do kind of the coarse sanding.
Okay.
And then we use the big saws that the old lumberjacks used to have back in like the 1900s, were 2-person saw, and that will those blades are 4 or 5 feet long, so I can go straight through from one side of the block to the other with that.
Wow. And so tell me how you get like these little details, like the whiskers and the whiskers both sticking out and within the snow.
The whiskers were a challenge because yesterday was about 8 degrees below zero when I was trying to put them on, and the snow was brittle. It was really windy, and I had carved nice, long, thinner whiskers, and when I tried to put them on, they'd just snap in half. So my neighbor thankfully came over and said, I've got the trick, and he brought over the shish kebab skewers. And I looked at him, I'm like, that's so cheating. He's like, do you want whiskers or not? And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So they're really just hanging in there. And the nice thing about them is there's enough weight on the snow that it gives the appearance that they're bending over a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the details are all with those tools, really. You know,
Okay.
you're carving into the snow, trying to get enough relief that you can see a gradient when the light shines on it.
And now, how long does a piece like this take to make?
This one I did probably about 12 hours over 4 days.
Okay.
Trying to pick the time that was the warmest, if I
Yeah.
could.
How do you stay warm while sculpting in snow?
Well, after 20 years, you learn how to dress. You know, yesterday I had 3 pairs of long johns on, and I had a parka that basically went. I think the only thing exposed were probably my eyebrows, and I was toasty warm.
Yeah.
We say in the snow sculpting world that you can't have an ego, because if you stop to admire your work, you'll freeze to death.
Oh.
So the idea is constantly move, and if you get cold, I just shovel. Right, shoveling will kind of warm the system up.
Okay.
And get back, and eventually, the nice thing about sculpting at my house is I can go inside.
Yeah. Take a break.
Yeah.
And now this year's figure is a cat. Last year was a snowy owl. What are some other examples you've made?
That's a good question. I feel like I kind of ranged the gamut. I do a lot of abstract pieces that are more geometric. I've done the zip code over in East Hampton last year for Winter Vest.
I think I saw that,
on its head. And, you know, I don't know, I've done bears, I do wildlife, I do people engaged in winter activities.
Great.
So usually there's some pun involved. And this year there's no pun. This cat was just kind of too much fun and too expressive to pass up.
Now, this is in your front lawn. Are folks welcome to come visit and see it?
They can. I haven't been broadcasting the address. Other people email me or send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. I've been giving them the address only because there's no shoulder on the road.
Yeah.
And so parking can be a pain. And if it were out on the front where I usually do it, people would do a drive-by. But this is just trying to coordinate that.
Yeah.
But anyone who's been interested, I've been given the address so they can come by. Because it wouldn't be right not to share it. The whole purpose of doing it is to make people happy. So.
And how long do you expect this sculpture to last?
I fear that it won't last much longer because it's going to get up into the 40s this week, and we're supposed to get rain, at least for some portion of it. It'll stay up, but it'll eventually start to lean to one direction, or the details will start to fade away, or certain parts of it will fall off. So we'll see how long it lasts. I give it a shot, but probably till about Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, that's all my questions. Is there anything else about the sculpture that we should know?
No, just feel free to walk around and take a picture, give a
All
view of
right,
it.
yeah.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Happy winter.
Happy winter. All right, we're going to take a little walk around the sculpture. So you can see the leg. There's a tail here. And like Dave was saying, it truly is three-dimensional. And he said it was made of 3,000 pounds of snow. So you can see the whiskers sticking out. Quite a lot of detail.